Amaya, 28 years old, working at a software company in San Diego. I met Levi 3 years ago during a product development meeting. He was a new programmer, transferred from the Seattle branch. Tall, calm voice, always composed even during the most stressful meetings. While the rest of the team struggled with deadlines, Levi somehow always managed to crack a joke that made everyone laugh. I didn't even realize when I started falling for that smile. We grew close during those late nights at the office. We both loved documentaries and often went to a small theater in Old Town on weekends. He wasn't one for sweet talk, but he noticed every little thing. Like the time I got sick at work and Levi made ginger tea and brought me porridge, simply saying, "You need to eat before going home." After nearly a year of dating, Levi proposed to me on a windy afternoon at La Jolla Beach. The wind was fierce, waves splashing at our feet, and he knelt down in the sand with a deep blue sapphire ring. Not flashy, but breathtaking. I could barely hear what he said over the wind, only saw his lips move and the way he looked at me. I nodded. That was all it took. I took Levi home to meet my family that weekend. My retired parents live in a small house in the suburbs of Fresno with a backyard full of lavender. My mom, a traditional but fair woman, instantly liked Levi. "He's gentle, I can tell he'll treat you well," she said while washing dishes. My dad played chess with him until nightfall, laughing every time he lost. "This son-in-law knows how to let old folks win." Their approval gave me peace of mind. I thought things would continue to go smoothly. 2 weeks later, it was my turn to visit Levi's family in Sacramento. He warned me, "My mom's a bit strict. Don't take it personally if she's not too warm at first." I smiled. "I'm not worried. My parents aren't exactly easygoing either." Levi's house was large and luxuriously decorated. It made me pause at the door. His mom Lorraine opened it, every inch the image of an upper-class lady. Hair in an elegant bun, pearl-colored silk blouse, a glittering designer watch on her wrist. "Oh, you're here," she said, her tone as cold as winter wind. But when she turned to lead me into the living room, she gave a faint smile. I figured it was just a formal first impression. Levi's sister-in-law Paige had golden hair and sharp features, like she stepped out of a fashion magazine. She started chatting right away, asking about my job, what college I went to, and even the average salary in my field. I answered honestly. "Wow, impressive." Paige nodded, though her eyes lacked any real praise. Dinner went smoothly on the surface. Everyone laughed and shared stories from Levi's childhood. I listened, smiled, and nodded at the right moments. Lorraine reminisced about the past too, occasionally glancing at me with a probing look before sipping her wine slowly. When we left, Lorraine walked us to the door, placed a hand on my shoulder, and said, "Thank you for coming. You're an interesting girl." That word "interesting" kept me up all night. Still, I brushed it off, thinking she just needed more time. At least they hadn't rejected me. Many people had worse experiences. I had no idea that their initial acceptance was just the calm before a storm I never saw coming. I'll never forget Lorraine's eyes the second time we met. No longer polite or cordial, but cold and critical, as if inspecting a product for defects. That night, Levi had invited me to another family dinner in Sacramento. I brought a bottle of red wine that my parents had served the previous Thanksgiving, hoping to make a good impression. But as soon as I walked in, Lorraine glanced at it and set it down wordlessly. "Domestic wine? You do know my husband only drinks Bordeaux," she said, her lips curling slightly. I nodded and replied, "I thought it'd pair well with barbecue." His dinner looked the same. Long white tablecloths, scented candles, warm lighting, but the atmosphere had shifted. It felt like a fog of quiet discomfort hung in the air. When Levi's dad Richard asked where I studied, I answered Columbia. He looked surprised. "Oh, Ivy League, what was your major?" I smiled. "Data science. I'm now a lead analyst at a software firm." I told the truth, nothing more, yet I could feel the room chill after my reply. Paige gave a soft laugh. "Well, I went to community college in San Bernardino, thought about data analytics too, but chose to focus on family instead." Lorraine looked at Paige, then turned to me. "You're young, accomplished, not many women are beautiful, smart, and know how to keep a husband?" Her words sounded polite, but every syllable carried a sharp undertone. I gave a quiet smile, saying nothing. Levi stepped in quickly. "Maya works really hard, but still comes home to cook with me every night. Good, Lorraine nodded. Just don't let work distract you from your duties as a wife. I felt something shifting, not an open rejection, but a chilling undercurrent. After that, Paige started sending me articles like The Danger of Women Earning More Than Their Husbands and Marriage Isn't a Stage for Career Goals. I read them silently, never replying. I told Levi. He squeezed my hand tightly, paused, and said, I'm sorry. You haven't done anything wrong. They're just not used to someone like you. I asked, someone like me? Levi hesitated. Strong, you make them feel outmatched. I gave a bitter smile. I never meant to outshine anyone. I was just living the life I'd worked so hard for. But the distance grew. Paige stopped calling me sis-in-law and started just saying Maya, her tone flat. When I sent birthday gifts for the kids, she replied with a curt, okay, never a thank you. Lorraine began hosting family dinners without inviting me, just Levi. When he asked why, she said, it's a family matter. His wife's too busy with work for these pointless dinners. I began to feel like an outsider in a family I was about to join. Though Levi always stood by me, it was clear I was seen as an intruder, a daughter-in-law they hadn't chosen. Then one night after dinner with friends, I came home to find Levi sitting silently on the couch. He handed me his phone. A message from Lorraine lit up the screen. Levi, you need to reconsider. Maya doesn't belong in this family. I froze. My heart pounded, not with hurt, but with a cold, quiet fury. Our wedding was scheduled for the first Saturday of April in a small garden by Lake Poway where we had our first sunset date. I'd spent nearly 6 months planning it, from the flowers to the napkin folds, every detail perfect. Despite the growing tension, I still hoped they'd show up and bless their son. Until Thursday night, less than 2 days before the wedding, Levi got a call from Lorraine. I was folding tablecloths when I heard his voice from the kitchen. What do you mean you're not coming, but why? His voice faded. Levi came out, face pale, gripping his phone. I looked up, my chest tightening. What happened? He sat down slowly, swallowed hard, and said, My family booked a weekend trip to Palm Springs. They said it's been planned for a while, and they forgot it's the same weekend as our wedding. Laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe what I had just heard. You're saying they forgot their own son's wedding? Levi nodded, eyes fixed on the floor. I don't get it either. I sent the invitations 3 months ago. I even reminded them last week. I stood up, feeling a hollow space open inside me. They didn't forget. They chose not to come. They made that decision. Levi quickly stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. Maya, I'm sorry. Whether they come or not, I'm still marrying you. Nothing changes that. I didn't cry, not because I was strong, but because the emptiness was bigger than tears. That night we called both Richard and Paige. No one picked up. We left messages, no response. The next morning, I woke up hoping maybe my phone had glitched, maybe they'd sent an apology somewhere, but no. No texts, no calls. Paige had even posted a picture on her profile, a suitcase and new sandals with the caption, Relaxing Weekend with the Family. The wedding went ahead as planned. The sky was unusually clear that day. The breeze was soft, flowers were in full bloom, everything was perfect. Except for one thing. Not a single person from Levi's family showed up. I heard whispers in the crowd. Where's the groom's side? Is something wrong? Do they not approve of the bride? I looked over at Levi. He was holding my hand tightly, his eyes steady and unwavering. When the pastor asked if he would stand by Maya in all circumstances, Levi didn't hesitate. I do. Always. We exchanged rings to soft music, surrounded by the applause of friends, co-workers, and my family. But deep down there was still an emptiness. Not because someone was missing, but because I realized they had never seen me as someone who belonged. That night at the reception, one of Levi's friends, Kyle, asked, Where are your parents? I thought I'd finally meet them. Levi just shrugged. They're on vacation. That short answer made Kyle widen his eyes, but he didn't press further. Everyone understood. Some things aren't worth revisiting. After the wedding, we returned to our small apartment. quiet and tidy, just like the two of us. I changed out of my dress, removed the hairpins, looked into the mirror and saw myself. A woman who had just gotten married, and had just lost something she couldn't quite name. That night, I held Levi close. He whispered, "I know you're hurting, but I promise, you won't have to carry this alone anymore. Our family starts here." And that's all we need. I nodded, tears soaking into his shirt. Yes, that's all we needed. Because I'd already learned my first lesson in marriage. The silence of a loved one can cut deeper than an open rejection. We couldn't stay silent forever. Even though they skipped the wedding, Levi believed we needed to visit them, make things clear, bring closure, or at least avoid being labeled ungrateful forever. I reluctantly agreed. 2 weeks later, we drove to Sacramento. Levi brought a box of macarons his mother used to like, and I picked out a bouquet of yellow tulip flowers that symbolized forgiveness. A part of me still hoped things could be mended. But the moment we stepped through the wrought iron gate, I saw Lorraine's eyes from the porch, sharp and cold as steel nails. "Oh, so you decided to show up," she said, arms crossed, voice clipped. "I thought you two were too busy living your perfect new life." "We came to say hello and let you know the wedding took place," Levi replied calmly, setting the box of pastries on the patio table. "Hello?" Lorraine let out a dry laugh. "We don't need that. And don't come back again unless there's a funeral or another wedding. If there is a next time, I won't be this polite." I stood still. Her words hit like a slap. No yelling, no drama, just cold enough to leave no space for reply. "We're Levi's family," I said quietly, trying to stay composed. "Family?" She scoffed. "My family doesn't need some outsider with an Ivy League degree and a superiority complex." Levi took my hand. "Mom, I need you to stop. Maya never looked down on anyone. You're the one who pushed her away." "Son?" Richard stepped out, his expression as indifferent as if he were hearing the weather report. "We had a son. But ever since he married that girl, he's changed. If that's the life you chose, go live it. Don't come back." Paige stood silently at the door, clutching her designer purse. She didn't say a word, but her eyes? I'll never forget them. A mix of envy and relief, like she was savoring every second of watching me be cast out. We left. No one saw us off. Levi didn't speak the entire drive home. But I knew he was angry, with himself, for believing something rotten could still be salvaged. 3 days later, I slipped on my heels at the door, ready to head to work. But the moment I stepped in, I jerked back in pain. Something sharp had stabbed my foot. I lifted the shoe, turned it over, and froze. Inside was a piece of velvet cloth, and beneath it, a bundle of dried grass mixed with tiny crawling things. Caterpillars. Alive, hairy, glinting under the morning light. I dropped the shoe and stumbled back, my whole body trembling. Minutes later, red welts bloomed along my ankle. I was burning with itch, like every nerve in my skin was screaming. Levi rushed me to the clinic nearby. The doctor said I had a severe allergic reaction, triggered by toxins from those caterpillars. Ones that usually live in bushes or are placed deliberately. It took nearly a week before I could walk again. My skin peeled in layers. I itched every night so badly I couldn't sleep. One question haunted me. Who put them there? I checked the door camera, but the angle didn't cover the hallway fully. One strange thing. The box with my shoes wasn't in its usual position. It had shifted, like someone had opened it and failed to set it back right. I remembered that last visit to Lorraine's. When Levi turned the car around, Paige had been near the gate. She lingered for a few seconds, bent down as if tying her shoe, but it wasn't hers. Her hand held a small beige pouch, the same color as the velvet cloth in my heel. I looked at Levi, but I couldn't say it. I didn't want to plant more doubt in a heart already bruised by betrayal. But I knew one thing for sure. They didn't just want to exclude me, they wanted me gone from Levi's life by any means. About a month after the shoe incident, Levi began having sharp stomach pains. He thought it was stress and poor eating habits, but one night as I was turning off the lights, he doubled over in agony, drenched in sweat. I rushed him to Sharp Memorial Hospital, where doctors diagnosed him with severe gastric ulcers that required monitoring. While he slept under the effects of painkillers, I sat in the white hallway, uneasy. No family in sight. After much hesitation, I picked up my phone and called Lorraine. It rang 5 times before she answered, her voice flat and emotionless. Hello? It's Maya. I'm sorry to bother you, but Levi's in the hospital. The doctors say it might be ulcers. He's on IV and... Oh, she cut me off. Is that all? I paused. Yes. I thought your family should know. It's not minor. To me it is. If his stomach hurts, give him medicine. Don't call me for petty things like this again. I'm busy. Before I could respond, she hung up. I sat frozen in that glaring hallway, heart tight in disbelief. How could a mother speak that way when her son was hospitalized? I tried one more call, this time to Miles, Levi's brother. It rang 3 times. But, he answered, blunt. It's Maya. Levi's in the hospital. He has stomach issues. The doctor... Why are you calling the whole family? You think we've got nothing better to do? I was stunned. Who is your brother? I'm not a doctor. Don't call me for every little stomachache. I'm exhausted. Click. I stared at my dark screen. I didn't feel sad or angry anymore. Just one thing, crystal clear. I had done enough. And now, I was done. When Levi was discharged, I didn't tell him about those calls. I just brought him home, made porridge, changed his bandages, and quietly threw away the last pieces of hope that someone from his family might call or come by. No one did. Not a single person. One morning, when Levi had regained his strength, I brought him coffee and sat across from him on our small balcony. The one where we used to dream about future travels and work. I called your mom, I said plainly, and Miles. Levi stayed silent, staring at his cup like it had spoken. What did they say? He asked. Don't bother us. And that I was a problem. Levi set his cup down, hands clenched. I'm sorry, Maya. I didn't know they could be that cruel. I looked at him for a long time. I don't need them to love me. I just wanted them to care about you, but now I see they only care about appearances, not blood. Levi slowly nodded. I know. And this time, I'm not defending them. From that day on, we never spoke of Sacramento again. No calls, no messages, no visits. It was as if we cut them from our lives. Like a breeze, silent but sharp as a blade. I cleaned out my contact list, erasing names that were nothing more than cold echoes. I reset the door camera's password. I taped a sign on the gate. No uninvited guests. I was no longer the naive, soft-spoken wife clinging to a family that never wanted me. 1 year after I completely cut ties with Levi's relatives, our lives entered a new chapter, lighter, calmer, and truly happy. Levi left his old tech job, the one he'd held for nearly 10 years, to pursue his dream of starting his own software consulting firm. I supported him without hesitation. The first few months were financially uncertain. But we weren't worried. We lived frugally, shared everything, and most importantly, we were no longer weighed down by toxic family obligations. A few months later, I found out I was pregnant. It happened on a Saturday morning while I was pouring orange juice. I froze when the test showed 2 clear lines. I walked out to the balcony, handed it to Levi without a word. He looked, then looked up at me, eyes glassy. Are you serious? We're going to have a baby? 9 months later, baby Caleb was born. Healthy, bright-eyed, with brown eyes just like Levi's. When I placed Caleb in my mom's arms for the first time, she whispered, My grandson, I finally get to give you what I never could, a real family's love. My parents had moved in with us from Fresno after retiring. They cared for Caleb every day once I returned to work. No judgment, no criticism. Our home was always filled with laughter and the smell of fresh-baked treats. I had nearly forgotten Sacramento, forgotten the glares, the insults, but the past never fades quietly. When the COVID pandemic surged mid-year, countless industries collapsed. I heard about travel agencies, event companies, hotels all shutting down. One afternoon while feeding Caleb, Levi's phone lit up. Missed call from Richard. K. Levi stared at the screen like he was seeing a ghost. Your dad? I asked. He only nodded. No words. The next day, the phone rang again. Paige. Then a landline from Sacramento. For 3 days straight, non-stop. I told Levi, you can answer if you want, I don't mind. He looked at me for a long time, then said, no. They once said they wanted nothing to do with you. Now they don't get to come knocking when they need something? I didn't expect how much relief I'd feel hearing that. A week later, an envelope arrived at our house. Not a birthday card for Caleb, not a check-in. A letter. A plea. Gray cardstock. Thick and expensive. Written in shaky blue ink. Richard's handwriting. The travel company's gone bankrupt, your mother is depressed, the house is about to be foreclosed. We're family, Levi. You can't just stand by and do nothing. No apology, no mention of our wedding, no reference to Levi's hospitalization, no word about Caleb. Just a string of sob stories like we owed them something. I looked at Levi, what do you want to do? He paused. I'm not letting you or our son pay for what they did. No one in this house is paying for their mistakes. I nodded. I'd already had my answer long ago. But I knew they wouldn't stop. People who once used silence as a weapon become the loudest when desperation hits. I didn't answer any calls. I didn't reply, didn't send a refusal, I let them wait. I turned my silence into the loudest sound. The same silence Lorraine once used to bury me, now returned in full. I knew they'd come. People like them don't know how to handle being ignored. And then, on a Saturday morning, while I was tidying the living room, the doorbell rang. Over and over. We walked over and checked the camera. All 4 of them stood at the gate. Richard, Lorraine, Miles, and Paige. No suitcases, no flowers, no gifts. Just the same faces, now drained and calculating. Levi stepped out of the kitchen and seeing my expression came to stand beside me. I tilted the screen so he could see. He was quiet for a few seconds, then said, You don't have to open it. I gave a faint smile. It's fine, let's see what show they're about to put on. I opened the door. All 4 of them pushed in without waiting, as if this were still their home. So you finally opened up, Richard muttered. I stayed calm. I didn't invite you, but clearly that doesn't matter to you. Lorraine scanned the living room like she was appraising its resale value. Miles flopped onto the couch, propped his feet on the glass table, completely unfazed. Paige stayed silent, but her eyes couldn't hide the bitterness when she saw the family photo on the table. Me, Levi, Caleb, and my parents all beaming with joy. Richard finally spoke, his tone forced but still commanding. Levi, you know the company's gone. The bank's coming for the house. We're family. We can't let each other drown. We just need something temporary. I sat across from him, arms crossed. Temporary? When I joined your family, all I wanted was a simple hello. And what did I get? Don't come back unless it's a wedding or a funeral. Well, sorry to disappoint, but nobody's dead yet. Lorraine slammed her hand on the table. Don't you start with your sarcasm. This is when my son should step up and help his family. Levi spoke, voice steady but firm. I've chosen my family. Maya and Caleb are everything. If anyone can't respect Maya, they don't belong in my life. Miles shot up. What? You're picking her over us? Who does she think she is, acting like she owns everything? I stood, eyes locked on Richard. I'll help. If you're sincere. Not for money. I want an apology, a real one. For the caterpillar in my shoe. For leaving Levi alone in a hospital bed. For pretending our son didn't exist. The room fell silent. Paige stammered. Maybe we were a little harsh back then. I don't want half a sentence, I cut in. I want all 4 of you to kneel, look me in the eyes, and say, we were wrong. If not, the door's right there. Are you insane? Richard barked, face flushed. I'm already swallowing my pride and you're giving conditions? He slammed the table, then suddenly lunged forward, grabbing Levi by the collar. You traitor! I screamed. Let him go. As I rushed over, Richard shoved Levi hard, sending him into the table. I tried to pull him away, but he pushed me with so much force I fell backward, hitting my head on the edge of a low cabinet. The pain was sharp and immediate. I reached behind my head, blood. Warm, wet blood on my fingers. Paige screamed. Miles backed away, pale and speechless. Levi pushed himself up, saw the blood and shouted, "That's enough!" He shoved Richard back, standing in front of me. "You just hit my wife. Do you realize what that means?" Richard stammered. I didn't mean to." I stood up, blood trickling down my temple, eyes dry. I opened the door. "Get out of my house, right now, or I'm calling the police." The others froze. Richard tried to protest. "You'd kick out your own father?" Levi didn't flinch. "I'm protecting my family. And the truth is, none of you have been family since our wedding day." They left one by one, none of them daring to look back. My hand trembled as I picked up the phone, blood still dripping onto the pale wooden floor. I didn't hesitate anymore. I dialed 911. A calm female voice came through. "Emergency services, what's your situation?" "My name is Maya Carver. My husband and I have just been assaulted in our own home. The attacker is my father-in-law. He hit my husband, pushed me down, and my head is bleeding. Please send the police immediately. The address is..." I gave the address, my voice shaky but clear. After confirming we were not in immediate life-threatening danger, they told us to stay put. Officers were on their way. Richard was still standing in the living room, face red, chest heaving, his eyes unfocused, as if he couldn't believe there would be actual consequences for what he'd just done. Moran stammered. "Maya? This was just a misunderstanding." I didn't respond. Levi helped me sit down and wrapped a towel around my bleeding head. His own shoulder was already bruising. Paige and Miles had shrunk into a corner, completely silent. Just 12 minutes later, 2 uniformed officers arrived. When I opened the door and saw their badges, I nearly collapsed with relief. I pointed. "That man. He assaulted me. And my husband." The officers handcuffed Richard on the spot. He struggled. "I'm family. This is my son. She's just a disrespectful daughter-in-law." One officer barked, "Quiet. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court." Lorraine rushed forward. "You don't understand. We just came to ask for help. We're desperate." The other officer calmly took notes. "Desperation doesn't give anyone the right to assault people in their home. Mr. Richard will be detained and questioned." They escorted him out as he screamed incoherently. Miles and Paige were also asked to report to the station as witnesses. After the initial statements, the officers recommended I go to the hospital for a head injury check. The wound was deeper than expected. I needed 7 stitches. The next day, news spread across the neighborhood. A middle-aged man arrested on the spot for attacking his son and daughter-in-law. Their facade of respectability shattered. From there, everything unraveled like a loose thread. The police investigation led to a financial audit of the travel agency under Richard's name. Not only were there signs of falsified records, but 3 years of unpaid taxes as well. The IRS got involved. Their Sacramento home, already under foreclosure warning due to unpaid pandemic-era loans, was seized within 2 months. Their bank accounts were frozen. Levi's former family, the ones who once sneered at me, who sipped wine in their 3-story mansion as if I didn't exist, had moved into a run-down 1-bedroom apartment in the suburbs, surrounded by factory workers, students, and single mothers. Lorraine took a job selling flowers at the local market. Yes, her old job. But this time, no one came for her airs and pearls. Miles, once used to slacking off and partying, now worked retail at a cell phone store, and Paige, the one who scoffed when I held Caleb for the first time, was now posting on LinkedIn, seeking new opportunities, open to any role. And me? I still live in our sunlit little home with Levi and Caleb, surrounded by love and care from my parents. Levi once told me, "Everything they've done came back to them. You didn't have to get revenge. Your peace today is the harshest punishment they could imagine." And he was right. Caleb is now over 2 years old, clever and quick, always shouting, "Grandpa, Grandma," when my parents walk into the room. I look at my son, my husband, and this real family we've built, and I smile. Justice doesn't always come instantly. But when it does, it doesn't need to scream, it just stands firm. And lets the truth speak for itself. My story isn't just about surviving rejection and cruelty from a toxic in-law family, it's proof that resilience, love, and integrity always win. I learned to stand up for myself, to protect my little family, and to never let the past define my future. In a world full of judgment and pressure, what matters most isn't being accepted by everyone. It's knowing who's truly worth keeping in your life. What do you think about how Maya stood up to her in-laws and protected her happiness? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt real-life family stories. Genesis, there's a man in the hallway. He's been standing in front of no turning back for a while. I think you should know.